Hello and welcome, I'm Marina Kim with the latest news from Kazakhstan. The mayor of Pavlodar has expressed his condolences to the family of the 27-year-old man who died in a car accident caused by his personal driver. The official promised the investigation of the tragedy will be unbiased, although no criminal case on the car accident has been instigated so far.
The driver of the Pavlodar mayor responsible for a lethal car accident was not fired after all. At the same time, the city head says he was not in the car during the tragedy, which happened outside the working hours. I express condolences to the relatives of the dead. We have visited them, provided with material aid, helped in organizing the funeral and launched an internal investigation. The driver has been suspended. The 27-year-old Farhad Kasimov was hit by a car of the state official when he was passing the road. The man was able to push his wife out of the vehicle's way but didn't survive himself. Farhad's mother says that her son died before the ambulance arrived. There were many eyewitnesses who said the driver attempted to flee the scene but was stopped by the nearby police officers. The body was found 100 meters away from the car. Eyewitnesses say that at the moment of the accident, the car was traveling with the speed of at least 170 kilometers per hour, with a allowed speed limit of just 40. Moreover, the traffic police later revealed that the driver was drunk. Driver Gardiev is responsible for a traffic accident on June 25th at 11:55 on the intersection of Kutuzova and Kalinina streets. The victim died at the scene. We have filed the case and launched the forensic examination. The Pavlodar mayor failed to explain why the staff member of the city administration was driving the official car during non-working hours. Bahidjan Julamanov promised that everyone responsible will be punished, including the head of the car fleet in charge of all official vehicles during non-working hours. At the same time, the criminal case over the accident has not been instigated yet.
On Tuesday, a street musician from Astana protested the decision of the city authorities to forbid him from performing in the underground pass until July 10th, long after the celebration of the Day of Astana and President Nazarbayev's anniversary. In response, the musician sued the president, city administration and the law enforcement agencies. The judiciary representatives, however, hint that lawsuits like this have no effect, which disappointed Nazarbayev and forced him to rally.
The street musicians' campaign in Astana lasted for only 10 minutes. It included placing a poster at the square demanding to grant his rights for singing in the underground passage near the market on the day of Astana and President's anniversary. On June 16th, I appealed to the Supreme Court with a lawsuit against the President, city mayor and the head of the Internal Affairs Department. I believe they will never going to review it. The authorities didn't seem to appreciate Nazarbayev's musical talents. Instead of receiving ovations, the street singer was apprehended by the National Security Agency representatives. Before they arrived, Asherbayev was guarded by the Special Forces unit. Nazarbayev was detained in the police station for 3 hours. When releasing the street musician, the police officers warned him that next time he will face a trial. Nazarbayev left the station saying he doesn't appreciate the Nazarbayev's policies. In 3 more years, Adilkhan Nazarbayev will be retired. While he has to wait for the official pension, the musician is making his living through playing famous Kazakh melodies and singing songs of Kazakh composers. Appealing to Kazakh President, Nazarbayev asks only for one thing: to let him earn enough for food.
Blank posters and complete silence. Apparently, this is the only safe way to express a protest in Kazakhstan against the recently adopted law on the leader of nation.
I'm a free citizen of Kazakhstan. Do you have legal reasons for asking my ID?
This is the 4th campaign on the main square of Almaty against the recently adopted law on the leader of nation. This time the rally was joined by ordinary people who held blank pieces of paper and kept silence as a symbol of the absurdity of the law, which implies saying only good things about the president or nothing at all. This seemed to confuse the police, which arrived at the scene before the rally started. after the recent protest action organized by journalist Ekaterina Bilaeva of the newspaper Vzglyad, the police seemed to be surprised to only find blank posters. Fortunately, this time no one was forcefully escorted to a police car prepared in advance.
You are not allowed to write and say anything in Kazakhstan. The leader of the nation is inviolable, while the ordinary people must simply keep silent.
Famous Kazakh lawyer Sergei Utkin, who frequently represents opposition members, is joined by an activist of the unregistered party Alga, Vladimir Kozlov, on the blacklist of the financial police for alleged tax violations.
Vladimir Kozlov, an activist of the unregistered party Alga, could face 2 years in jail and a fine of $40,000. Upon the inquiry of the financial police, the tax agency has calculated Kozlov's income for the last 5 years, deducted the costs of apartments bought for the party means, and supposedly found a discrepancy in the numbers. The explanation for this development that I have at the tip of my tongue is that this is a present to the nation's leader for his anniversary. Of course, it is ridiculous, but only if we apply normal logic. But then, the law on the leader of nation is also ridiculous if the normal logic is applied. Therefore, my explanation is likely logical too. Vladimir Kozlov is one of those who were inspected as part of the famous case against the director of the Kometa S printing house Yulia Kozlova unrelated. The charges brought against the politician are identical to the ones against the famous lawyer Sergei Utkin. The latter gave a press conference recently saying that this was a political persecution. I believe everything is clear to Utkin. He's actually the only lawyer who professionally protects the interests of oppositional media on a regular basis. This way he steps on the toes of the authorities during trials, and this also applies to the tax agency. Of course they want to shut him up for a long time, if not forever. At the same time, the Almaty Financial Police Department denies the claims of the lawyer and political activists in the way it is formulated, saying the inspection was sanctioned by the prosecutor. Both Kozlov and Utkin intend to continue fighting for justice.
Meanwhile, the tax committee of Astana brought its apologies to the CEO of Samruk Kazana Foundation, Kairat Kilimetov, and Almaty City Mayor Ahmedjan Yesimov, as their names somehow ended up on the recently published list of malicious property tax evaders.
The press attaché of the financial department Madina Murat stated that Kilimbetov and Yesimov were actually going to pay the debts off and ended up on the list of debtors accidentally because of the old database. However, the rest of the people, including the ex-deputy Tatyana Kvitkovskaya, ex-transportation and communications minister's son Aldan Nagmanov, extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador of Kazakhstan to Turkey Bagdat Amraev, still must pay off the debts. They applied to us to clarify the issue because they believed that all debts were paid off. But when we looked into the matter, these facts were revealed. Therefore, we have distributed a press release as unverified data started appearing in the mass media lately.
Meanwhile, Kairat Kilimetov's foundation accuses the State Stress Assets Fund of financial machinations. Representatives of 3 mortgages and interest holders unions of Almaty claim they have copies of documents which show that the officials have made around $20 million during the devaluation of tenge in 2009.
Officials of the Stress Fund profiteer on the assets allocated by the state to complete problematic real estate development projects. The interest holders and the mortgages presented journalists with documents that supposedly prove that on February 3, 2009, the fund has bought $118 million upon the old exchange rate one night prior to the devaluation. 2 days later, the money was sold back at the new rate, thus making a profit of $20 million. These facts are emerging now, and the audit chamber has indicated that all required money to complete the projects have been already deposited and are apparently used for speculations. The officials, though, report that the problem of interest holders is practically solved. This is really annoying. The activists did not disclose to the public the origin of the documents and the name of the source. At the same time, the Stress Assets Fund representatives do not deny the fact of the financial operations, as the management apparently considers this a routine fund activity. This is an absolutely standard treasury operation directed at keeping off the authorized capital. There's nothing criminal about it. So what they say is not true. Unfortunately, the fund representatives didn't explain the situation with the leak of confidential information, and it remains unclear how the officials knew about the upcoming devaluation. Moreover, it is questionable that this operation could be considered fully legitimate, and it is unknown whether the received money was used purposefully. The fund was created to solve the problems of the mortgages incapable of paying their debts, but not speculating. Only the monitoring and controlling state bodies can answer said questions, but activists say that they're not going to wait for the reaction of the financial police and plan to hold a rally in front of the Almaty mayor's office on Wednesday.